If you do not fix the food noise and your relationship with food specifically, you are never going to lose the weight, or if you do, it will never stay off. Trying to lose the weight first and then deal with the food noise later is like trying to build a house with putting the walls and the ceiling up and then doing the foundation last because you don't want to do it right now or because you're in a hurry to move in. So we have to address it differently, because you have to understand food noise is the result of something deeper under the surface not getting addressed. Food noise is not the problem. Food noise is the after effect or the side effect of a deeper problem. We have a very specific protocol around food noise and how to handle it and how to stop it, but without having to take, shots or medications or anything like that. So for me, I have food noise broken down into 6 parts. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Dieting from the Inside Out. If you're new around here, welcome to the show. My name is Jared Hamilton. I am your host, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to quiet the food noise. Now, it's one of those things where right now the term food noise is becoming kind of clickbaity. It's becoming very trendy. And it's interesting is the reason this episode came about is because it was very requested from a couple episodes ago. A couple episodes ago, I was talking about Ozempic or semaglutide, GLP-1, and basically, if you're going to entertain taking it, these are the things you need to know. Okay. So if you haven't checked out that episode, it's a couple episodes back. But one of the things that I mentioned in that episode is that we've been stopping food noise for our clients for years. Like, we have a very specific protocol around food noise and how to handle it and how to stop it, but without having to take, shots or medications or anything like that. Again, not that any judgment or hate or anything like that if you choose to go down that route. But again, we've been stopping food noise for years for our clients. So I mentioned in that podcast, I go, if you would like, the listeners would like me to do an episode on that, the 6 reasons you have food noise and how to stop them, just let me know. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I want to hear it so bad. So that's what we're here now. Now we're going to talk about food noise and how to stop it specifically, because let's backtrack a little bit. So that's what we're talking about in today's episode. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to try, this is a pretty deep one. So if you see me looking away, if you're watching the YouTube, I'm looking at my notes to make sure I stay on track with my ADHD brain, because you have to understand this. If you do not fix the food noise and your relationship with food specifically, you are never going to lose the weight, or if you do, it will never stay off. Now, I don't say that to be a cynic or to be like an asshole or anything like that. I say it to be real with you, because a lot of people who are so desperate to lose weight, they basically take this stuff that I'm about to talk to and go, yeah, it's not as sexy or exciting, or, well, I just want to lose weight now. I'll deal with this later. The problem is you won't. Not that just even if you say I will, the problem is you can't mix up this order of operations. It's almost like trying to lose the weight first and then deal with the food noise later is like trying to build a house with putting the walls and the ceiling up and then doing the foundation last because you don't want to do it right now or because you're in a hurry to move in. It doesn't work. It's not just from a human behavior standpoint is you're not going to do it, but from an order of operations standpoint, you can't do it, because if you go and lose all this weight and then you're like, okay, now I'm going to go address the food noise and my inner stuff, it's not going to happen. It's not. So, because most people, this is the hard part. Most people feel, I don't know about you, because there's a lot of people listening to this, feel like the more weight they lose, the louder the food noise gets. You ever notice that? Like the food noise sucks and it's always craving or hungry, or all you're thinking about food, or once you start, you can't stop, or whatever it may be. Guilt and anxiety around food. It's all you think about. Well, now you lose more weight. And then it's like the food noise gets turned up a little bit. And it's because you never addressed what's actually causing the food noise. You just get this result now, but now you're even more hungry. You've been more restricted, and now you're worried about losing said results. So now you're worried about food even more. And now it just builds. Because the thing with food noise is it's kind of like a beach ball. Right? Where if you have a beach ball in a pool and you just put it under the water, you can hold it down there for a little bit, but it's just 1 or 2 shifts later and it skyrockets out. This is why so many people suppress, or restrict, and end up having this blowout of a binge, or giving up, or saying fuck it, or sabotaging, or having a breakdown. We have to address this the right way. So that's the problem. Now, here's the thing though. Food noise has become really trendy. the term food noise, especially with like the hype around like Ozempic and semaglutide, GLP-1, all that stuff, it's become really, really clickbaity. It's become really, really trendy. Now, the thing is though, one of the biggest things that we do for our clients is we help them with food noise, but I break it down a little bit differently because you have to understand that when it comes to food noise is let me see if I can explain this correctly or in an easy way to understand. Food noise is not the problem. Food noise is the effect of a problem. Because here's the thing, food noise is different for everyone. I literally did a giant workshop on this that went crazy. And when I did this like Zoom workshop, kind of like a webinar, I had a few hundred people register for it. But then when I asked everyone on the webinar or on the workshop, I go, explain food noise to me. What's it mean? Like, what's food noise mean for you? In some people, it was all about hunger. For other people, it had nothing to do with hunger and it was all about cravings. For others, it had nothing to do with cravings or hunger and had all to do with their emotional attachment to food. For others, it wasn't that. It was once they started eating, they couldn't stop eating. And it was all this obsessive and compulsiveness around food. So food noise is actually very different. I would actually like to do like street interviews about this and go around and be like, yo, what's food noise mean? And ask people what for them it means. Or if I went to 100 people and I said, what's be healthy mean? What's be mindful mean? What's love mean? I'm going to get 100 different answers. So the thing is, when I was crafting this talk, I sat down and I'm like, okay, well, if I could zoom out over the last years, we've helped hundreds of people stop their food noise. And I'm like, well, let's see if I could break it down where I could teach like this whole concept. So for me, I have food noise broken down into 6 parts. And then I actually asked on this workshop, I actually asked everyone, I go, cool, here are the 6 ways we'll say food noise expresses itself or it comes out. And I'll give you those 6 here in a minute. And I go, is there anything that I mentioned on here that didn't like hit at anyone on this talk? Not a single person had any objections. Everyone's like, nope, that encompasses all of it. My food noise is more this person's is more that. But I said, cool, food noise for me comes out to these 6 things. Everyone's is a little bit different. It's just like binge eating, right? With binge eating, it's not just overeating. Binge eating is based in hunger. It's based in restriction. Some people it's emotional. Some people it's an identity thing. So we have to address it differently because you have to understand food noise is the result of something deeper under the surface not getting addressed. Food noise is not the problem. Food noise is the after effect or the side effect of a deeper problem. So I'll give you these 6 really basically I'm going to give you these 6, then we're going to go through back through each one and break them down. So the six ways I broke up food noises into: number 1, cravings. Number 2 is hunger. Number 3, it's feeling uncontrolled or having no control. Number 4, it's binge eating entirely. Number 5, it's always thinking about food. And number 6, it's always running to food when anxious, stressed, or emotional. So I would be curious, for those of you listening, if you struggle with food noise, does any of those not hit it for you? Is it something else? I would love to know, because when I sat down and came up with this list, this is what I came up with. Just from my experience coaching people for the last 12 years. And I asked all these people on this webinar, I'm like, cool, did I miss any? Is this whatever you consider food noise, did I not hit it with that list of 6? And not a single person had an objection. But here's the thing though, food noise, telling someone stop the food noise is not very helpful. Because again, food noise is not the problem. Food noise is how a problem manifests on the surface. If you suppress, just like at the top of the list, cravings is the first one. If you suppress your cravings, well, then that's going to lead to food noise on the surface. But if we learn how to hold space and honor and eat our cravings so they don't build up, all of a sudden that part of food noise shuts down. You see where I'm getting at? Is food noise is never the issue. Food noise is the after effect or the side effect or the symptom, if you will, of something deeper in your overall relationship with food. I hope this is making sense. So we're going to just go through this list, because then after this list, I have a few more points that I think will hit home, because I want to make this really helpful, really tactical, and all encompassing so you can actually have hope again. I know how it is being in the trenches, struggling with food noise. You feel hopeless. I've been there. I know it feels like the constant thought and noise around food with whatever of these 6 it could be, it feels like it overtakes your life. It feels you literally can't go on date night without freaking out about food. You can't go to Christmas and be present with your family and friends and watch your kids open gifts because you're freaking out about what you're having for lunch and how you'll lose all your progress. I've been there. I get it. So I want to show you how we have clients heal that and fix it, because we have to address, this is why the podcast is called Dieting from the Inside Out. Because if we do not go inward and diet from the inside out first, we cannot diet for real. We have to diet from the inside out first and fix these deeper things if we want any chance of losing weight and keeping it off and being happy long-term. Hopefully this is making sense. All right, let's dive into each one. So reasons for food noise. Number 1 is, I have it, again, in no particular order, this is just the order on my page, is cravings. If you suppress your cravings, you are going to have so much food noise and noise around what you're wanting. It's unreal. Because the problem is, most people in their journey of losing weight, most people go about it the wrong way, in an unsustainable way, with information from the 1970s. But cravings, for most people who have lots of food noise, they suppress those. This is usually the life cycle of most people. And I'm curious what you guys think listening to this. When I gave this example on the workshop that I did, everyone's like, holy shit, were you following me around? And it seemed to hit home. Because here's what most people do. Most people, they go, all right, Monday starts. I'm ready for my diet. I'm going to start losing weight. Meanwhile, they were eating like an asshole, more than likely, they were actually, because they were going to start on a Monday, they were probably more than likely getting it out of their system. Last Supper vibes, right? Well, Monday starts. Really strict, really rigid, good, healthy breakfast. Going to do my workout. Going to eating, like, let's say, nuts and coffee in the morning. Like, I'm being good, whatever that means. Well, now Monday you're pretty motivated. So Monday you do pretty good. Tuesday you wake up and go, cool. On my diet still, I'm being good. I'm skipping breakfast because I hear that's good, because intermittent fasting or whatever. You start off, get your coffee, maybe a handful of almonds because you're like, almonds are healthy. And then all of a sudden you're at the office and like it's lunchtime, and now you're like, I'm kind of hungry. So you break out like your salad and celery sticks because you're trying to be good, whatever the fuck that even means. But now you're getting hungry. Now you see the candy dish, like at the office, the cubicles or whatever. And now you're like, I'd really like to have some of that. No, I'm being good. I don't need it, whatever the fuck that means. I don't need it. I'm being good. Even though you want just one of the Hershey Kisses or one of the little fun-size Snicker bars or whatever's in there. So you go on with your day. You're like, no, I'm being good. And then all of a sudden, like, you get through the rest of the day, you go to bed hungry, that kind of thing. Wednesday rolls around and you're like, now motivation's starting to go south. And now you're like, no, I'm being good. I'm on my diet. The person who suffers the longest wins. So I'm going to do that. And that's kind of the vibe. You skip breakfast again, coffee and gum, then you're being good, trying to conserve your calories for later, salad for lunch, pretzels, maybe, if not even that, like eating really light. Now you're off at coworkers are like, hey, we're going to Starbucks. Do you want anything? And you're like, yeah. Now you're like really wanting stuff. Or you walk by the candy dish and now it's like from just, I want it to I really want it. Now all of a sudden all you're doing is thinking about these foods. Now your coworkers like, you want something from the Starbucks. And you're like, you know what? I've been good for like 3 days. I deserve this. Fun fact, you're not a dog. You don't have to earn your treats. That's not how this works. But you go, I've been good. Get me a caramel macchiato frappe bullshit, whatever. I don't know Starbucks drinks, but let's say a mocha froba bullshit, whatever you want to call it. And then they come back, you have it, you drink it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just blew all my calories. That's like an 800 calorie drink. I messed up. So from there you feel like, oh, you fucked up. So now you end up going and smashing the rest of that candy bowl. You think the day's ruined. So you say, fuck it. And then you end up binging. And then, it's already Wednesday. Why even try Thursday? You know what? It's already almost the weekend. I'm just going to get started back next week. Lather, rinse, repeat for the rest of your fucking life. How many of you have done that? Most people I talk to, everyone on that fucking masterclass that I taught or that workshop, everyone's like, holy shit, that's me to a T. Now, this may not be you exactly, but there are forms of this. Because the thing is, this all started at a craving. You wanted a couple pieces of the candy in the candy dish. But because you have more than likely a poor relationship with food, you feel like once you start, you can't stop and you're being good. All that other bullshit, you avoided it. Your craving went from a level 1 on a scale of 1 to 10, it went from a 1 to a 3. Then you kept suppressing, it went from a 3 to a 7. Then it went from a 7 to a 10, and then you couldn't control yourself. as expected because it was a 10 out of a 10, and then you felt like you fucked all the way up, versus all of this would have been fixed if you would have handled the craving when you had it. The cool thing in this day and age in which we live with food companies and everything is you can get single servings of anything. You can literally buy a 2-pack of Oreos. You can buy a single slice of pizza. You can get a vending machine sized bag of chips. You can literally get a mini pint of Ben and Jerry's that's like 200 calories. It's this big. You literally can get anything that you want. You can buy one cupcake, one donut. So I'm telling you, this is why you need to start honoring your cravings. Cravings are like that beach ball. You can only suppress them for so long. Now, if you're in the camp of, oh no, Jared, I will, once I start, I can't stop. I'm getting there. That's part of this list. But also you have to understand that if you're in the camp of, well, no, those foods are bad, those store fat, and like, is the 21st century. It's not how that works anymore. That shit's stuck in the 1960s. We need to leave it back there. If you're listening to this right now and you still are worried that like sugar stores fat, or you think that you can't inherently eat any food in moderation and that not all calories are the same, we need to get you caught up to the 21st century ASAP. You need to go to the free course in the description here and go through. It's called the Fat Loss Checklist. It will catch you up to speed on fat loss nutrition in this century to make all the pressure go off. If you're in that camp, it will change your life. It's totally free. So check that out if you haven't already. But the thing is, the number one of the first reasons here for food noise is the cravings, is you suppress your craving. Of course it's going to get louder. What does a child do when it's trying to talk to you and you ignore it? It gets loud. But the thing is, most people go, I can't control myself, so I'm going to keep avoiding it. I can't control myself, I'm going to keep avoiding it. Then it always ends in the same binge. It always ends in the louder food noise. So we know that route doesn't work. Maybe we should start to eat what we're craving, just in moderation. Maybe we should incorporate our favorite foods into our plan. Dare I say, make it a lifestyle, like that quote you say so much. Because no food inherently stores fat. Right? You can even if you have control issues, and we'll get to that here in a minute, you could even have it where the food isn't even in your house. You go out and buy the one donut and eat it. Kill the craving, and you didn't even have a chance to binge on anything else. There's ways around this. But doing the same thing you've been doing isn't working for you. So this is why one of the number one reasons for cravings, or for food noise, is cravings. You don't eat what you crave. You start a diet, and then you shut down this entire list in your head of the food you can have. If I made this post that pissed off half the internet like a month or two ago, I said, if you have a list of diet foods and normal life foods, this is why you struggle for 20 years. Versus whether you're dieting or not, your food list should be the exact same. That means when you're not on a diet, you should still be having fruits, vegetables, and whole foods, but still moderation and everything else. And this means when you are dieting and trying to lose weight, you're still enjoying your favorite foods in moderation. The foods itself don't change whether you're dieting or not. The portions just do. That's it. You can still go out to eat, still go on date night, still have alcohol, all the things. But if you're struggling with food noise, your issues is your cravings, we have to handle the craving. We have to honor the craving. What we teach clients is we have to handle the craving with its appropriate level response. What I mean by that, cravings do not start from 0 to 10. They gradually increase. They start out from a 0, and then you see chocolate and you go, ooh, that looks good. You should have chocolate right then and there. Literally. But what most people do is, oh, I shouldn't have it. Oh, I'm being good. And then that craving goes from a 2 to a 5 to a 7. Now you're about ready to steal chocolate from children. And then you wonder why you can't control yourself when you finally have a chocolate, when you've been craving it at a 10 out of a 10 level where it's almost animalistic. What if you handled a 3-level craving with a 3-level response? Oh, that sounds pretty good. Get one piece. Craving's gone. What do you do when you're thirsty? You have a craving for water. You drink water until the craving's gone. You're good. So if you're a little parched, you have a little bit of water and you're good. You don't go, oh, I'm parched, I want a little bit of water, and you drink 3 gallons and make yourself sick. No. But what happens if you haven't drank water all day and did a big workout and you're dehydrated as fuck? You'll pound a whole liter of water in one sitting, binge on the water, then you'll feel sick afterwards. It's the same thing. Handle a small craving with a small response, and it will never get to this high level. Okay? That's the first part. I know we're already like almost 20 minutes in. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. Okay, number 2, getting into talking about the 6 things that cause food noise. Number 2 is hunger. I'm telling you, half the reason we stop food noise for our clients is because we actually get them eating a sustainable amount. If you're eating 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day, and you're hungry all the time, it's no fucking shit. You have food noise out the ass. At this point, it's a survival instinct. You're hungry. Most people that I talk to that are trying to lose weight and struggling severely undereat. Most people who come into my coaching program, who work with me, literally come in, can't lose weight, but they're under eating. They think 1,000 calories is it. Someone literally just told me on my TikTok post the other day that 1,000 calories a day is more than enough for a menopausal woman, and then insulted my intelligence. It's like, of course not. That's what a toddler eats. Actually, a toddler probably eats even more than that. But you have to understand, if you are under eating and you're hungry all the time, or you're skipping meals or not having enough protein, and your overall calorie intake is too little because you think, oh, 1,200 calories is it for me, or if I eat 1,300, I'll store fat, which is wrong. Of course you're going to have food noise. It's a hunger response. Look, you may be there are times you'll be dieting and trying to lose weight, and a little bit of hunger can be normal. But you should not be starving. You should not be you should not be so hungry all you do is think about food. That tells me your deficit's too big. That tells me you might have some metabolic damage that we need to spend some time in a reverse diet or a maintenance phase to get your calories to a sustainable point, get your food and caloric tolerance high, then drop into a deficit. I have so many women who come to my program who are eating 1,200 calories a day. They say they can't eat more than that without gaining. But then somehow I get them to eat 1,800, 2,000, 2,400 calories a day without anything bad happening. Then we drop their calories a little bit and boom, they lose weight while full. We do it every single day. But one of the biggest reasons for the food noise is because you're eating too little. There's a lot of people that are conserving calories and banking calories for the evening or for the weekend. So you're letting your hunger get too high, or you're eating 1,000 or 1,200 calories a day. So your hunger goes out the wazoo, or you're only eating like 40 grams of protein a day. So your hunger goes through the roof and you're never satiated, or you are not eating enough volume in your food. So you're always hungry, or just any facet of this. Like, oh, I'm skipping breakfast. Now, again, you can choose to eat breakfast or not, but if you're skipping meals and you also happen to be crazy hungry and you have all this food noise, this is why. So there you go. So that's why the second part of the food noise is hunger. Stop letting your hunger get so high. Eat more calories. Go through a maintenance break. Stop spending your life in months on end in a deficit. Fun fact, when we work with people, the last thing we do is keep someone married into their deficit till all their weight comes off. You should come out and go through plenty of reverse diets and maintenance phases and not living in your deficit. Otherwise, it will cause metabolic damage. You will burn muscle tissue and you will get crazy hungry. Okay. Number 3, for food noise, for a lot of people, it's the feeling of lack of control. As in, like, once I start, I can't stop. This one gets a little bit deeper. Once I start, I can't stop is a really big one, where it's like, I feel like I can't. If I have just a couple chips, I literally have to eat the whole bag. A couple things. I have a few thoughts on this. We're going to start surface and then go deep. Number 1, the arms are on the surface is you actually do have, a lot of people I talk to, you do have control. You're just choosing not to utilize it. Now, that might offend some people. I'm going to get to the deeper side of it here in a minute. This is just part of one camp. As in, I've literally had this conversation with so many people where they're like, oh, once I start, I can't stop. Well, that's a false limiting belief. If I said I'd give you $1 million if you could, would you still continue? And most people go, oh no, I'd stop like that. Well, wait, why do you have to be bribed with $1 million to do that? Or if someone's like, oh, once I start, I can't stop. Well, what if like someone took your whole family hostage and threatened to assassinate them if you overeat? Would you still like, sorry guys? Or would you be like, nope, and it shut it down? Well, where is that self-control at? Where is that? Because here's the truth. Most people, this is going to upset some people. Once they start, they can't stop. Like, yes, we need to have the deeper conversation I'm going to get into here in a minute about like neural pathways and everything. But there's a lot of people, we need to take some radical accountability here, who say that and it's an easy way out. Because if I said, hey, I'll give you $100 if you don't if you have 4 chips and put the bag of chips back, I'll give you $100. You'd do that in a heartbeat. You'd have no issues with it. And I say, if you do that every single day for the next like 6 months, I'll give you 10 grand. I bet you would do it. So my question is, where is that? Where is that? Because the thing is that you shouldn't have to be bribed to do that. The thing is, a lot of people are letting go of their personal power and their personal bandwidth and what they're capable of because it's hard. Yeah, this is why being all or nothing is easy. It's easy going, fuck it, I'm going to eat all the chips because it takes zero mental bandwidth to just smash a whole bag of chips. And it's fun. I've done it. But it also takes no bandwidth to say, nope, I'm not going to have any, because out of sight, out of what? Out of mind. Nope, I'm not allowed to have any chips. That's the easiest way to do this. The harder way is go, I'm going to have a serving of chips and put the bag back. That takes self-control. That takes discipline. That takes accountability. And that takes a mental process, or that takes a thought process and bandwidth. So of course, that's going to be the hardest option, but it has the most freedom on the other side. It's like Jocko Willink says, with discipline comes freedom. Because if you have discipline now, it will literally open the floodgates to have freedom. Guys, I literally was thinking about this last night because I used to not be like this. I used to really struggle with this. If there was sweets or foods like that in the house, I would have to kill the whole thing. But one of my favorite, I'm not a big candy guy, but one of the candy I love is gummies. I love like good gummy bears are amazing. Well, my wife went to the store the other day and she brought home some gummy bears because she knows I love them. Well, it's a big fucking 2-pound bag sitting in our pantry. And I walked in and I go, but I'm also tracking calories. I'm in the middle of a mild fat loss phase right now. I don't want to go crazy. If I have a bunch of gummy bears, my stomach hurts. And so I just literally reached and got a handful, probably about 30 gummy bears, a serving. And I closed the bag and went and sat on the couch and ate them. I didn't have a single inclination of, I can't control myself. What if I smash the whole bag? But because of the work that I've personally had to do on myself around my relationship with food and my self-control, that discipline equals freedom. To know that you can just go anywhere, do anything, and have complete control over yourself. And now I'm not talking about willpowering through anything. For me at this point, after you achieve mastery, you don't have to have willpower. It's just what you do now, right? So, but you don't just wake up like that. You have to train yourself. But you have to understand the first step in that is knowing you have more power than you think you do. A lot of people I did a post where I basically said, if you step on the scale and say, fuck it, and then like sabotage on purpose the rest of your day, like that's on you. No one is making you do that. If you step on the scale or you feel like you fucked up and you go like, whatever, and you choose to spiral, that's on you. Nothing is making you spiral, right? I get it if you have a food control issue where it's just like once you start, you can't stop. And I have a deeper side of this we're going to get into in a second, but you need to take some accountability for yourself. We all do. Whereas, am I enabling myself? Am I like feeling like I messed up and choosing to lose control and choosing to spiral? Could I actually stop if I wanted to? And the answer is yes, right? It's one of those things. It's you actually have a lot more power than you're giving yourself credit for. Again, don't take this out of context because there's an actual layer deeper to this I'm going to get into. Because here's the other side to getting into this. If you feel like once you start, you can't stop and you literally have no control, then we need to retrain your brain that you do, because we need to develop what's called a new neural pathway. Think of we're talking about like brain stuff here, like neuroscience. Think of a neural pathway like a trail in the woods. So if you're in the woods, picture just woods, and you see like a deer trail or like a Boy Scout trail. It's not paved. It is dirt. It is like you have all the brush of the woods, but the trail is like everyone's gone on it. You know it's safe. You can literally walk on it without getting scratched up. Like it is the way to go. That's an old neural pathway because you always go down it. Your current neural pathway is once I start, I can't stop. Once I start, I can't stop. Once I start, I can't stop. Your brain just assumed that's the way. When you create a new neural pathway, you're literally looking over here, a different direction, and you go create a new trail. There's literally no trail to be found. It's nothing but brush and woods and sticks and weeds and everything. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to go create a new neural pathway. And you start walking into the woods. Guess what? It's scary. Guess what? It's dirty. You're going to get scratched up. It's not fun. Okay. Same thing in your life when you develop a new neural pathway. That's why if you've always slept in, getting up early is a new neural pathway. If you've always been a perfectionist and you go, that's done, and you start doing the shit and quit putting things off, it's uncomfortable. If you've always crossed your arms one way and you now start crossing your arms the other way, that's essentially like a new neural pathway. You always brush your teeth with your right hand, start brushing your teeth with your left hand. It's just, God, it feels weird. Well, the thing is when you start going down a new neural pathway over and over again, guess what? It's like a walking trail where it starts to get a little clear. It starts to get almost paved. It starts to get it's like the old neural pathway, but now your brain naturally goes through around or down it. And the old neural pathway starts to get covered up, right? So you have to understand that whenever you feel like, once I start, I can't stop, it's because that's your old neural pathway. You've always done that. And the brain is only about survival. Your brain doesn't give a fuck if you're happy. Your brain is only about self-preservation. It just doesn't want you to die. It doesn't care if you're happy. That's why you always go back to the same shitty reality, because it's predictable. It somehow feels like home. It's where you've always been, and you can at least know what to expect, right? So when you are trying to fix your relationship with food and rein back control, but you've never had control, we need to give your brain what we call in coaching irrefutable proof. If you have always, once you start, you can't stop, your brain views that as doctrine written in stone by God, because it's all you've ever done. If every time you've had chips, you've binged on chips, once you ate one donut, you had to have 15 donuts. Your brain just assumes that's like as real as gravity. So we have to give it a new reality. So this is where I'm not going to get into all of it here. I have other podcasts with it on it, but we have things we teach clients called like the gas station method, where you're basically clearing your house of the foods that you struggle with, and then every single day going out, getting a single size serving of that, bringing it home and eating it in your house without other food there. And your brain is going to start to go, wait, we have control. Holy fuck. I have this in other episodes. I have this in my my 180 Academy, really in depth. We do this in coaching. If you need a little bit more help with this, just shoot me a message and we could see if we can help more with it. But I'm telling you, if you don't have control, we need to show your brain that you do, and then your brain will go, oh, and a new neural process and a new neural pathway is going to start to get rewritten. Right? Imagine if like all of a sudden your dog came into the room, but he was on the ceiling. Your belief in gravity would instantly go, oh, this is different. So if you've always binged on food, and you start to eat it in moderation, you go get the single size serving of chips and bring it home and eat it, your brain's going to start to be like, wait, why didn't she binge? Why didn't we binge? We always binge. And you do it again and again, day after day. You go get the single size candy bar, whatever it may be. Your brain is going to go, we always lose it. Why are we not losing it? It doesn't know that the whole package isn't there. But this is how we start with this. So if you feel like so at the end of the day, because I want this to be tactical. I don't want to just tell you the reasons you have food noise and you don't know what to do with it. I want to make this tactical. So if this third reason, if you have food noise, is because you feel like you can't control yourself, this is how we have to rein back. I don't want to just say have more control. We have to retrain your brain that you do have control with these ways. Okay. Hopefully this is making sense. Okay. Number 4, one of the other reasons for food noise is binge eating. I mean, one of the biggest reasons people come to work with me inside my program is because I'm really good at getting people to stop binge eating. And it's like most people we work with have some semblance of binge eating. And I have a whole different piece of content. I won't get into all of it here. There are 4 reasons for binge eating. I have it's one of my most popular podcasts to date. It's called the Binge Eating Masterclass. I can't remember what I said, episode 254. I can't remember, but it's great. But the thing is, if you struggle with binge eating, any of the 4 reasons, you're going to have copious amounts of food noise. Binge eating will quite literally, like the words of our clients, take over your life. Everything we do has food. You can't spend time with a friend, go on date night, travel, vacation, do anything without food. And then on top of it, we have to eat to survive, right? So if you struggle with binge eating, you're going to have food noise like a motherfucker. Now, some of these reasons for the food noise are half the reasons you binge eat. So I'll give you the 4 reasons right now. The 4 reasons for binge eating are: number 1, it's based in hunger. We talked about that already. Number 2, it's based in restriction. If you keep restricting the foods that you crave, we talked about that, then you're going to have copious amounts of binge eating and food noise. So we talked about that, and the not controlling, being able to control yourself. Number 3, it's emotionally driven. It's called emotional eating. I'll touch on that on number 6. And number 4, it's your identity. It's who you think you are. If you have an identity, like I identify as a binger, like, oh, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a nurse. I'm a mom. I'm a 53-year-old old person. Oh, and I'm a binger. And it's part of who you think you are. You'll always find a way to start back binging again. So we need to address each and every one of those. Now, there's not enough time on this episode to get into all of that. That's what that other episode is about. But if you struggle with binge eating, that I promise you, that's the biggest reason you struggle with food noise. Again, food noise is not the problem. Food noise is the after effect of a deeper issue. Okay. Moving on. Number 5, you're always thinking about food. Again, a lot of food noise comes down to like people say, I just cannot quit thinking about food. I'm always worried about my next meal. I'm always thinking about whatever. There's a few layers to this one. Number 1 is this actually encompasses one thing I'm going to say at the end of this number, but it's also it kind of combines with the other things. I don't blame you for never being able to stop thinking about food if you're suppressing your cravings, you're suppressing your hunger, you're uncontrolled around food, and you binge eat. Of course, you're going to always think about food, right? So if you fix the first 3 or 4 of these, you'll notice you quit thinking about food as much. Now, here's the thing. If you're in the camp of, well, Jared, no, when I'm eating, I literally think about my next meal. I'm always hyper freaking out about my next food, or I'm always thinking about food. This may be a little bit left field for some of you, but I'm just going to say it. That tells me that I don't think it's a food issue. I think it's a being present issue. What I mean by that is, I would be curious if we look into the other areas in your life, you struggle with being present. Because the people that I talk to, the clients of ours that come to the program who struggle with, I can't quit thinking about food. Most of the time, they're not present in their lives at all. When they're on date night, they're thinking about laundry at home. When they're at work, they're thinking about their kids, whatever it may be. If you are constantly thinking about food, you may have this, what I call an addiction to the future or an addiction to the next thing. I struggle with this, right? When I'm in my morning routine, I'm thinking about work. When I'm in the middle of work, I'm thinking about my workout. When I'm like that's something I have to really rein myself in. If I don't control it, that's what naturally happens. So for you, if you're always thinking about if you're always thinking about food, well, we need to retrain yourself to be in the present moment, which is hard. Again, mind you, this is way easier said than done. Like I know I'm going to get messages that said, Jared, I tried being present and it didn't work. It's like imagine someone that's not taking care of their teeth for the last decade and now they're trying to get their cavities fixed. Like it's going to be a minute. But here's this may be a better analogy. Most of us have all had experience trying to teach a dog something or train a dog, right? Especially think of this. Imagine training a dog that's been never taught to sit, but to make it matters worse, this is not a puppy. This is an adult dog from the pound that's never been taught to sit. That is more than likely you listening to this, trying to teach yourself to be present. More than likely, if this is newer material to you, I'm going to assume you have been pretty distracted most of your life. I know I have. Whereas if you've never been like super present and it's always been like always busy, always scrolling, always one thing or the other, you becoming present is going to be like teaching a 6-year-old dog to sit when it's never even heard those words before. It's going to be a process and it's not used to it. It's a neural pathway thing. Again, if you've always been like never present, and that's on autopilot, now you're like, we're going to become present as fuck with our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, the state we're in, our breath. The easiest thing is, well, what am I going to eat next? Right? So it's because we're distracted. And if over the course of your life, food has given you a good dopamine hit, well, and you become present and you subconsciously want dopamine, that's going to be the easiest route. My therapist said, that with the brain and dopamine, it doesn't care where it gets it from. If it wants dopamine, it just gets it, whether from scrolling, whether from food, it doesn't matter. It just wants dopamine. So for you, if you're always thinking about food, I would challenge you. I go, let's be where our feet are. If you notice you're always thinking about food, that means you're not thinking about where you're at right now. Right? The other piece of this, where it bleeds into number 6 on my list, is that maybe number 6 is always running from food when stressed, or running to food when stressed, anxious, or emotional. Because if you find you're always thinking about food, but you're also always emotional, those two are very intertied. Because what happens is, what emotional eating is hiding or suppressing your negative emotions with food. You're sad, you want to eat. You're stressed, you run to the pantry. You don't feel good, so you want to feel better, so you go to food. Well, if your life isn't the most happy right now, if you're pretty anxious, if you're stressed, if you're sad a lot, if there's a lot going on, and your only outlet is food, it's no wonder you always think about food. Because if you're always emotional, this is not a bad thing, but if you're always stressed or always emotional or always lonely or always busy or always overwhelmed, and the only way you handle that is with food, you're always going to think about food because that's the state you're always in. So this is why, breaking number 5 and number 6 up is, 1, we need to become present, which means even if you're sad, we need to be at one with your sadness. Allow it to be here, hold space for it, journal, go on a walk with it, sit with it, breathe through it. Be where your feet are is one of the things that I like to tell myself is when I'm getting a little bit too future focused or past focused, I go, big breath, be where my feet are. My nose is really stuffy, so it's really loud. Sorry. But you see what I'm saying? Where if you're always thinking about food, in most cases, you can probably have a bad relationship with food that we're working on, but you may just not be present in your life as a whole. Be where your feet are. What am I feeling right now? What activity am I doing right now? What state am I in right now? What my surroundings look like? Be present in this moment, and you'll notice you won't be thinking about food. And then when you go back to thinking about food, it's like, oh, I'm not being present. Even if you're eating, if you're eating and you're thinking about your next meal, stop, bring that shit back. But you have to understand that this is not going to be an easy task. If you've always been like this for a long time, it's going to be hard to rein yourself back in for a while because that's an old neural pathway. That's an old habit, right? If someone wore glasses, I wore glasses for 4 years straight, and then I got contacts, but I still pushed my finger on my nose to push them up, even though glasses weren't there, because it was a habitual action. Same thing with you. Okay. And then I know we kind of touched on it, but the number 6 for food noise is because it's emotional. If you are a highly emotional person or you're struggling with certain emotions and the only outlet you have to handle that is food, you're always going to be thinking about food because we're all emotional creatures. This is why we need to have a way to hold space for our emotions separately from food. This is why with clients, we teach them how to meditate, journal, breath work, go on walks, these kind of things. So I would do the same thing because those are the 6, right? So I still have a little bit more for you, but like those are the 6 reasons for food noise that I have found. So I'm curious if you have others that don't fall in this category. I would be curious to hear what those are. I've yet to have anyone tell me any, but I would be curious. But you have to understand a big piece with food noise, like from an overall picture, is a big piece of it is having an amazing relationship with food. Because if you have a great relationship with food, all that shit goes away. The cravings, the hunger, the no control, the binge eating, the always thinking about food, always running from food to food when stressed or emotional. When you have a great relationship with food, all those things go away. But to change your relationship with food from a broad sense, we need to change your beliefs. We need to change your words. We need to change your meanings, and we need to change your actions. If you change those 4 things, your entire relationship with food changes. But this is why I wanted to go a little bit deeper on this episode, because I want this to be granular for you. I want this to be tactical. I don't want this just to be, oh yeah, you have all this food noise because your shitty relationship with food, but then you don't know how to fix it. But then like, even if I say fix your relationship with food, that's not very helpful. But if I say change your beliefs, words, meanings, and actions, that's better, but it's still like, fuck, how do I do that? A lot of it's with the 6 stuff that I just told you. It's the cravings, the hunger, the control, the binge, like all that stuff. You need to hyperfixate on those and fix each one of those. And dare I say it, before you try to lose weight. The worst thing that's going to happen is if you try to lose weight during this process, it's going to put so much more stress, so much more pressure around it all. Okay. It's literally right in my notes. I got ahead of myself. I literally says, if you're struggling with these issues, you should not try to lose weight yet. We got to put the foundation on the house first before the walls and the ceiling go up. Okay. But to be honest, this is also exactly why in my program, in my one-on-one coaching program, it's why it's set up the way it is because I'm not going to put you into fat loss if our relationship with food is not good yet. Literally our very first stage of coaching in my program is called dieting from the inside out. Because then after we do that, then I can diet you for real. Because it's like building a house. Like I keep going back to this. If you don't have a foundation, you have no right to put the walls and the ceiling up unless you want the house to come crumbling down. For us, when we coach people, our fat loss phase is not till stage 2. Because I have to first get you through stage 1, diet you from the inside out, fix the food noise, stop the binge eating and the emotional eating, fix the sabotaging patterns, fix your identity, fix all of that stuff, fix your value systems. Because once we have that in place, fat loss is so much easier. Our clients literally go, wow, I feel like this should be harder. It's because we have to fix this stuff first. We can't put the cart before the horse. So I hope this was helpful. I really do. I tried to go more in depth on this one, but I hope this was helpful. I hope it provided some insight. And if you're listening to this and that's a lot and you're like, I don't even know where to start on all that stuff and you would like more help, this is, again, exactly what I do for our clients in coaching. So if that's you, just apply below at the link. If you're like, I'd like to see if coaching's a good fit, if it's in my budget, if it's, all the things, just hit the link below and let's have a chat. We'll see if it's a good fit. And if not, no big deal. If it does and it works out, then your life will never be the same. So otherwise, I appreciate you. I love you. Be sure to subscribe if you have not already, and I will talk to you next time.